That time Rimuru got a daughter. By Asora09. Ufufufu intensifies. Mikan you stupid. Riki you dummy. Nanota. Ufufu, how cute, just be careful with the table, girls. Grr, X2. Inside one of the rooms of Tempest, a peculiar scene was taking place. Two figures were glaring at each other in full strength before finally engaging in a cat fight. Nya, me, Nami, Muki. They pinched at each other's cheeks and rolled around on the room's floor, showing no sign of slowing down. Until. Bump. A picture frame fell from a table they had stumbled upon as they quarreled. Phew, crack, it made that shattering sound after it fell to the ground. The girls turned a bit pale as they noticed. Ah, X2. The two previously fighting girls looked at each other with expressions that could be used to describe fear. A stream of cold sweat ran down their back as they slowly turned their heads around like badly oiled machines. At the end of their gaze, a monster. No, a demon appeared. My, what did I just say, I wonder? Two just remembered I have something to do, Nota. Why yes me ttoo. You Uncle Valora said he needed my help. Sensing danger, the girls decided to follow their instinct and make the most intelligent choice, run. Ufufufu, don't worry. I'm sure they'll forgive you for running a bit late, you failed to escape. Okay, it seems like it's time I take my leave. After noticing how the girls had received the failure notification box, the last person in the room decided to test his luck as well. There was the probability he wouldn't be allowed to leave, but it was better to die trying than to just lie back and do nothing. Okay. Ufufu, see you later, dear, you got away safely. New. Hiya. WWAAAAAA. Leaving those screams behind, Rimuru exited the room. He brought a palm to his forehead as he recalled how they ended up in that situation. Hollow diamond, hollow diamond, hollow diamond. It has been not too long since the end of the orc invasion. After defeating the orc lord, we had to attend a few meetings in the Lizardman Fortress, in which we declared the formation of the Jura Forest Alliance. As that concerns, everything happened just as in the original timeline. Afterward, we finally were able to go back to the village, where Riley was waiting with a pout, having been trapped on the imaginary space for quite some time. Riley hates Papa, she said as she crossed her arms and looked away from me. While I was lying painfully in the ground clutching my heart, I know I don't actually have one, but still, Seal tried to talk to her in a fluster, but things didn't go well on that front, as Seal was the one who placed her in the imaginary space to begin with. Mama too. Riley will be alone from now on, she declared as she walked toward our house in the village. We decided to keep an eye on her as we gave her a bit of space to calm down, but later that day, she seemed to realize she couldn't actually live alone, so she returned to us and apologized. Riley doesn't hate Papa and Mama. Riley wants to come back, she said, fiddling with her fingers in embarrassment. And with that, things have gone back to normal, and now everything is going smoothly in the village. Or so I'd like to say, but. Hello, I am the Demon Lord Milam Nava. You look like the strongest hombre in town, so I wanted to come in, say hi. A wild Demon Lord appeared in my backyard. Good afternoon, Demon Lord Milam Nava. How can I help you today? I greeted her with a serious tone. I just came to say hi. I kind of forgot just how big an airhead she can be. Well, if that's better for me, anyway, because that way I won't have to fight her as I did in the original timeline. Now that I think about it, why did I fight her in the first place? I feel I might be forgetting something quite important. Prepare to die. Oh, yeah, I forgot about her. Shein appeared out of nowhere, slashing at Milam with a shout. Following behind her, several other figures appeared, beginning with Ranga, who leapt out of a shadow on the ground and went for a tackle against Milam. It was obviously useless, though. This is Milam we are talking about, after all. I want to play too. With a nearly childish smile on her face, Milam grabbed Shein's sword with her left hand while she used her right to parry Ranga's tackle. Both of them were sent flying by Milam's raw strength. She appeared to be ready to dash toward them, but she stopped in her tracks as she felt a slight tug on her body. Not even a demon lord can escape my thread. It was Sue, who planned to use Shein and Ranga as a distraction to restrain Milam. Too bad, though, as Milam simply dashed ahead nonetheless, forcing Sue to let go of his thread. If he hadn't let go, he would have been dragged through the ground by Milam's rush. I could see Benimaru with his eyes wide open as he saw her get away from the spot. I guess he wanted to attack her while she was restrained by Sue, but well, that clearly didn't work out. Milam was now about to reach Xian, who had been previously blown away quite the distance. I don't think she will kill her or anything like that, but this might be really bad. Somebody should do something. Ah, wait, that's me. Rimuru-sama, run away. I instantly moved in front of Xian, who was more injured than I thought. Her life wasn't in danger, of course, but she seemed to be hanging on to her consciousness by a thread. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Get some rest. Xian seemed a bit conflicted, but after a few seconds, her conscience finally faded away. I turned away from her and faced Milam, who did not halt her approach even now that she's just in front of me. Without taking a single step back, I jumped forward at Milam. She smiled with a mix of happiness and devilness as we collided. Ah, Uchi. Just a second after we came in contact with one another, Milam fell on her back and began rolling around the ground in pain. Tears started forming on her eyes as she covered her forehead with both hands. What did I do? Nothing much, of course, yeah, nothing much. Alright, I may or may have not given her a forehead flick with a considerable amount of my strength, but she's alright, so there's no problem. No problemo. Papa, what's happy, Ning? Really appeared out of nowhere with Seal in tow. She accidentally made eye contact with Milam, who was still on the ground. PFF'd. Really turned around in a fluster and covered her mouth as she chuckled. She was shaking, but not because of fear or anything like that, but rather. PFF'd. Ha 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 ha. She was trying not to laugh, but she failed terribly. Maybe noticing she wouldn't be able to hide it anymore, really dropped on the ground while hugging her belly, and her laughing became more intense. I don't really know how I should feel, seeing my daughter dearest laughing at someone else's misfortune. That I was the one who caused her misfortune in the first place. Shish, that's not important right now, okay. Grr. Of course, Milam noticed she was being mocked, and she hurriedly stood up from the ground while glaring at Riley. That being said, her hands were still on her forehead and Riley was ignoring her, so she seemed even more pitiful. Milamchan, glaring at people like that is no good, you know. Seal approached Milam in a second and began patting her head. Milamchan, of course, was incredibly flustered, as not only was she being treated as a child, but Seal had approached her without her taking any notice. Stoop Nota. Milam tried to hurriedly distance herself from Seal, but she failed. Seal's grip was too strong for even one of the strongest demon lords to handle. The ground cracked several times as she struggled for a few more minutes, but Seal didn't give an inch. My, how fierce of you. Seal said as she looked at how Milam had changed the topography of the zone. Her tone was one of a mother scolding a child who had done something wrong. That said, aren't you kind of the culprit too? You know, for messing with her. I kind of think the troublemaker in this situation is you, not Milam. You fufu, I wonder if you are thinking something very rude right now, honey. It's just your imagination. I was able to resist the tension even under CL's terrifying, Yufufu, glare. My handling of her is improving. Maybe someday I will be able to. Don't even think about it, ufu. Ugh, she's sharp. Who is this person Nanoda? Milam turned her shocked face my way. Explain, she demanded with her teary eyes. I mean, it makes sense. This is most probably, no, definitely, the first time that she is up against an opponent who she cannot picture winning against. Just being able to physically best Milam was already quite commendable, but Seal had even used Void God Azathoth to consume all of the magic Milam had used in her countless attempts at breaking free. Indeed, this hadn't been a contest of pure strength, but rather had involved magic warfare as well. We have to thank Seal that this forest hasn't been reduced to ashes. Drago, Nova. My, that is quite the dangerous thing to shoot point blank, you know. Milam-chan. Even when facing one of Milam's strongest trump cards, CL's smile didn't waver. NNOOOOOO. Nanoda. Yeah, it's only natural that Milam would sink even deeper into despair. Poor thing. PFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFFF with compassion from seeing Milam's pitiful situation. Ruthless, just like her mother. Hi. Maybe I should cut that line of thought, because I am feeling the atmosphere grow colder and colder. Yufufu intensifies Seal-sama. I won't do it again, please forgive me. What's going on over here? Just as I was about to get on my knees to beg, a blonde figure appeared from among the trees. He was wearing an orange Hawaiian flower shirt with a pair of trousers and sandals. He had a single black fingerless glove on his right hand, and there was a cross necklace hanging from his neck. Veldora-kun, is today cosplay Monday or something? Ah, Uncle Velora. Really stood up from where she was and immediately ran up to her dear uncle. Veldora replied with a smile and crouched down to be eye to eye with Riley. Once they were in front of each other, they did a weird greeting of sorts like a high five, but with several more steps in the middle. At the very least, it seemed pointlessly refined to me. Yay! X2. Both of them celebrated their greeting by happily jumping around in circles. I turned to look at the scene, and yes, as I expected, everyone had their eyes wide open. Shion, who seemed to have regained her conscience, Milam, who was still being restrained, Benimaru and others, who were in wait near my position, even Seal, whose Yufufu smile was turning into a confused one instead. They all seemed to have no idea of what just happened. It took so long, but we finally did it. Yes, for them to be this happy, I wonder just how many times it took for them to actually perfect this greeting. I think even I would have had a bit of trouble doing it. I turned to look at Seal, to indirectly ask her if she could do the same thing without any practice. To my surprise, her eyes were already locked with my own since who knows when. She smiled confidently and smiled, but there was something else in that smile. It was as if it was saying, if it was with you, I am sure we could manage to do it using the power of our never-ending love. Yup, I can totally see her saying that while grinning. And I guess my thoughts aren't too far off from reality, as Seal began fidgeting restlessly, her hands now on her blushing cheeks. Yeah, her hands were on her cheeks, meaning nobody was restraining Milam. But contrary to my expectations, Milam didn't make a single move from where she stood. Does she understand that Seal can still restrain her even in her current state if she attempted to flee? No, that is most definitely not it. Just as I mentioned before, confusion was written all over her face, her jaw was hitting the ground and her eyes were as wide as saucers. Uncle, Veldora, Milam murmured as she stared at Riley and Veldora, who had now entered a playtime phase with the former being carried on the latter's shoulders. Veldora's gaze instantly turned towards Milam. He stared at her for about a second or two before smashing his fist into his palm, as if to say, "Ah, that's right." Riley noticed Veldora's reactions and chose to remain silent, maybe because she thought it was best to not interfere. My girl, she knows how to read the room, ah. It must be because of my influence as a parent. Yes, I am definitely the one having the most positive influence around Riley. Praise me, praise me. Sealson, could you not look at me with the eyes of someone who is watching a hopeless person? You are hurting my feelings, you know. Milam, my niece, what may you be doing here? A tick of sweat ran down Veldora's forehead as he tried to smooth things over the fact that he had completely forgotten Milam was present. Yeah, I think Veldora came here because he sensed a draconic presence different from that Seal, really, and I have. Yeah, really too. I didn't notice at first because of the confusion of entering parenthood without a warning and everything like that, but her species seems to be something along the lines of dragonoid slime or something like that, so it is a tad similar to Milam. Still, they are not quite the same, Riley's more of a slime than a dragonoid. Oops, it seemed I pulled a bit off topic. Damn you, Seal, why didn't you stop me earlier? I was joking, dear, please, I don't want to sleep on the couch tonight. As I was losing the telepathic war, not actually using thought communication, though, against Seal, the fact that Veldora was actually there in the flesh began dawning upon Milam. I mean, poor old Veldora here was supposed to be sealed in the forest, you know. And I was even hiding his presence with the artifact I gave him when I unsealed him. And of course, that was without taking into consideration the small effort that Veldora had to give to completely hide his aura. Even that artifact which was designed in future Tempest could hide his draconic aura. That being said, even if he did not give that extra effort, he would not stand out as anything more than a high-ranked magic born, which is quite good, considering he is a true dragon, one of the strongest beings in the world, and with an immense amount of magicules to go along with that. Ah, I'm getting off topic again. Seal, why didn't you stop me? Nope. Don't glare at me like that, please. Cough anyway. Uncle Veldora Nanoda. It really is you. Please save me from this scary woe. Hi. Splendid Lady Nanoda. Milam pleaded Veldora for help. Milam. Since when have you been such a crybaby? It's like being a child and going to an adult and saying, she doesn't want to share her toys with me. And then forcing the adult to interfere. Yup. I can totally imagine Milam in that situation right now. I've never seen her act like this, though. Is it that CL's unbending strength has changed her character description? I mean, she did correct herself halfway through her sentence as Seal glared at her. I can't. I just can't. I can't imagine Milam as being anything more than a tamed puppy right now, or well, a tamed dragon, I guess. I mean, look at her. Those are the eyes of someone who has lost all of the will to fight. I'll leave the rest to you. That is the only thing I can read from the expression she's giving Veldora. Don't give up, Milam. You are a demon lord, remember? Exclamation mark. And one of the oldest and strongest ones to boot. Seal is just, well, something like a god, but it's fine. You can fight her. I support you, Milam. Go for it, girl. Everything is possible with the power of friendship, or maybe not. I am now on the receiving end of the most menacing glare Seal has ever given me. My. You foo. It seems like someone will end up sleeping on the couch tonight after all. Foo. Grrrck. I am sorry, Milam, we can't go against her, she is just too strong. We just have the option to surrender at her feet, or suffer a meaningless defeat. We'll just have to give up. What are you talking about? That I was just cheering on her to defeat Seal. PFF'd. Are you mad? There is no way I would do that. Yeah, so that's why please, Sealson, no, Seal-sama. I don't wanna sleep on the couch. No can do. Seal shifted her gaze away from me, as if to say such a thing. It was a heartfelt moment, Seal. At times like this, you should just read the room. In moments like this, you are supposed to say, I forgive you, my dear. Or something like that, you know. You're completely going off script. You're saying that you don't care. I see. Cough. I am sorry, Milam, my niece. But I can't help you. While I was reorganizing my thoughts, Veldora spoke imposingly with a firm voice, as if to show off his authority as an uncle. It's just that such a side of him doesn't go well with how Riley is messing around with his hair while looking bored. She might have tried to remain composed at the beginning, but she eventually ran out of patience. That is most likely what happened. People have to save themselves. One person saving another is impossible. Kuahahaha. ... After making a reference that goes completely in match with his current outfit, leaving aside that last laughter, of course, Veldora turned his back toward Milam and started doing small talk with Riley. How was I? Amazing, right. Yup. Amazing, Uncle Veldora. I give that a 610. How come the rating so low? ... We are kind of in a serious situation, you know. The comedy duo simply remained chatting among themselves as if there was not a single other person present at the moment. That's a bit rude, you know. By this point, I think it's not a matter of not being able to read the room, but rather of avoiding it on purpose, you know. But I'm sure it's just my imagination. Yes, there is no way my daughter dearest would do such a thing. Uncle Veldora, I'm hungry. Why? Okay. I've done what I'd come here for. Let's go to the dining hall. Yai. ... Why yeah, she's definitely not reading the room because she doesn't want to, okay? I am not deceiving myself. Anyway, after saying that, Riley and Veldora, began to leave the area. Until they were stopped. Why are you helping that girl and not me, Nanoda? Milam seemed to have something to say against the comedy duo. Or well, it was most specifically directed toward Veldora, but it's the same difference. And why are you calling her your niece, Nanoda? Milam should have been able to notice Riley's draconic presence, but perhaps she was a bit too shaken about Veldora's sudden betrayal. Her uncle, who was supposed to be locked in the basement of some forest, suddenly reappeared, refused to help her, and then went along to play with some other girl. If you read that without context, it would certainly sound fishy. Well, she is Rimuru's daughter, after all. Veldora switched his gaze toward me, and two more pair of eyes fell on me as if following after. They were Riley and Milam, of course. And since Rimuru is my brother, it should be obvious that little Riley here is my niece. Kuahahaha. Milam's gaze intensified. Is she maybe trying to use her dragon eye? Then, should I introduce myself, or something? Ah. Hi, yes, I'm Rimuru. Rimuru T Tempest. Why am I suddenly so nervous? I know. I'll say the thing. Yes, that's it. That should be enough to break the ice. Cough cough. 2. Bad slime. Wait. No, that's not right. Arg. Milam seemed to somehow notice that I was having an internal turmoil, and so she looked back at Veldora, as if to say, really? This guy Nanoda. She should have already used her dragon eye to notice that I am indeed part of the draconic race, but she seemed to want to believe it wasn't true. Hey, that's a bit rude, you know. NNO, he seems too normal to be this woman's husband. Nanoda. Cold sweat ran down her forehead as she tried to avoid Ciel's intense pressure. But well, about what she said, you see now, Ciel. You are leaving a bad impression on people. Reflect on your attitude, woman. You can't just go around yufufuing everybody to coerce them into doing whatever you want. On closer notice, Ciel does seem a bit remorseful, as if she had begun to think, it is totally my fault, isn't it? Yeah, it is. So why do I have to be the one to sleep on the couch if I didn't do anything wrong? This is just so unfair. Foo. It seems I am Uncle Velora's #1 niece. Really, don't go down that path. Really. No matter where I look, the only thing I can see is, trouble, written in red and thick letters. Snap AAAAND, there it is. Milam didn't seem to be the least happy about Reilly's most considerate and thoughtful comment. The sheer presence she was giving off was setting a danger alarm in everyone's heads, most probably. Even Ciel seemed to tremble for a second as she was caught off guard. Milam seized that opportunity and approached Reilly in the blink of an eye. She directed a punch directly to her face. No, of course not. She stood in front of her, and pointed at her face. I, the destroyer Milam Nava, challenge you to a duel Nanoda. She declared those words with a confident grin on her face. Me, Ciel, Veldora, Xian, Sue, Benimaru. Nobody expected such a proposition. Not even Ciel nor myself. We were ready to move at a moment's notice if Milam was actually planning on physically attacking Reilly, but this was completely out of our calculations. Yufufufu, bring it on, destroyua. She accepted. I'm sure we are all thinking the same thing. That her pronunciation is a bit off. It's Destroyer Nanoda. Destroyua. Destroyer Nanoda. Destroyua. Repeat after me Nanoda. Destroyer. Destroyua. It's Destroyer, not Destroyua. Really doesn't care. Exclamation mark. There was a moment of silence after Reilly said that. Raylichan, that's not very nice. Even Milam was a bit startled by Reilly's words, but she smiled confidently almost immediately afterwards. Hey Nanoda. Yufufufufu. I could see sparkles flying between the two of them as they glared at each other. But that is not the most worrying matter at hand. But rather that would be that last, Yufufufu, wasn't Ciel's. Oh really dear, where have I gone wrong, I wonder. After that, the games began in earnest.